When was the last time you truly felt alive? Have you ever felt like you just don't belong to the rest of the world? You feel things more deeply, you worry more, you ponder over things others would consider trivial, and at times you quietly wonder to yourself, why am I so different? If you've ever had those thoughts, then congratulations. Let me tell you this, that's a good sign. You're leveling up, awakening more powerfully than those around you. It's like most people can only see the world from the ground floor, but you, with a special mission, you're seeing it from the 20th, maybe even the 50th floor. A higher perspective, and maybe you're the only one in your entire family carrying a mission your ancestors could never complete. A mission that you yourself agreed to take on long before you were reborn into this life. I don't know who you are, but if you're watching this video, then part of you is waking up. You were probably guided here, because this video is meant for the souls with a sacred mission, the ones the universe is calling to awaken right now. This isn't random. Your time has come. You've been marked, not by humans, but by the universe, by God, and by the divine knowing inside of you. Watch this video all the way through and receive the message that was meant just for you. You weren't born into this world just to survive. You came here to lead, to enlighten, to heal, not just yourself, but the silent pain passed down through generations in your family, the kind no one's ever been able to name. And if you're hearing these words, it's because it's time for you to choose. You can either keep living the way you always have, pleasing everyone except yourself, pretending to be okay, pretending to be strong, pretending to be like everyone else, or you can pause, turn inward, and begin to rediscover your purpose and your light. So many people spend their whole lives never truly knowing who they are. They wake up early, they go to work, they fulfill their duties, but deep down they feel empty. We grew up in a world that constantly told us, be obedient, be like everyone else, be successful by the standard rules, and so every child born with a pure soul learned how to shrink, to play a role, to lose themselves. But here's the truth. You can't live a meaningful life if you're using someone else's standards to define who you are. You weren't born to follow a path already paved. You were born to awaken and become a guiding light. And if you don't realize that, you'll keep living as a faded version of who you were meant to be. You'll keep shrinking, and worse, you and your children after you will remain entangled in the same pain your parents, grandparents, your ancestors once carried. Let me warn you, this truth won't be easy to accept. You might feel doubt, even resistance, because it goes against everything you were ever taught. It's unlike any lesson from a textbook, and it asks you to let go of everything you think is right. But let me be clear, not everyone is ready to believe. But those who do, they change. They don't just live a life that's free, fulfilled, and joyful. They become a beacon of strength and light for their entire family, their bloodline, and their community. If you are one of them, then keep listening, because in this video, I'll reveal 9 secret signs that you are the chosen one. And at the end of the video, you'll be able to check how many of those signs apply to you, see where you are in your awakening journey, and I'll show you the path ahead made just for you. Watch until the end, because you deserve to live a life that is free and radiant, not just for you, but for everyone you love. Out of the thousands of videos out there, you chose this one, but maybe this video chose you. No one else can do this for you except you. Now, let's begin with the first sign. Sign 1. You have a powerful intuition, and your gut feelings are often uncannily accurate. There are people who make decisions only after analyzing every piece of data, but then there are others who simply stop when something doesn't feel right. Not because they're afraid, but because there's an unspoken language inside them that speaks even before the brain has time to react. Don't go that way. That person is hiding something. This opportunity sounds good, but something feels off. If you've ever made a decision based on your gut, and only later realized you were right. That's not luck, that's intuition. And for the chosen ones, intuition isn't just some weird feeling, it's a guidance system embedded deep within the soul. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it doesn't need logic. It simply whispers and disappears if you don't listen. The sad truth is, most modern humans have forgotten how to hear it. In the Bible, when Thomas demanded to see before he could believe in Christ's resurrection, Jesus answered him with a short yet powerful sentence, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." John 20:29. Not every truth needs proof. Some truths are only revealed to those pure enough to feel them. Intuition is like that. It doesn't wait for you to verify, it only asks that you believe. And now, modern science, after centuries of denying it, has finally had to bow in acknowledgement. The heart is not just a blood pump. It's an independent neurological center. According to the HeartMath Institute, USA, the human heart contains over 40,000 sensory neurons, enabling it to communicate with the brain, sense the emotional frequencies of others, and respond before the rational brain can even process what's happening. You walk into a room and feel suffocated even if no one says a word. That's your heart sensing the tension in the energy field. You touch someone's hand and get chills. It's not their body temperature, it's the vibration around them speaking to you. Steve Jobs, who was never seen as particularly spiritual, was one of the most vivid examples of someone guided by intuition. He once said, "Intuition is more powerful than intellect." He didn't need market research to know which product was right. He didn't ask 100 people what the future looked like. He just felt it in his heart and followed it to the end. And the result? He created a tech empire that transformed the way humans live, work, and connect. You don't need to see the future. You just need to be still enough to hear what's whispering from within. And if you're someone who often follows your intuition, even when no one agrees, even when people call you emotional or irrational, then please remember this: not everyone is given that blessing. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. Now let's move to the next sign, which will help you understand why you've always felt like you don't belong here. Sign 2, you've always felt different, like you don't belong in this world. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from not having people around. It comes from a quiet feeling inside that whispers, "I'm living in a world that's not made for me." You can talk, work, and laugh just like everyone else. But underneath it all, there's an invisible gap between you and the rest. You don't know what to call it. You just know that you don't really belong here. You observe more than you speak, feel more than you share, and wonder why others seem to live so superficially and still feel happy. They can gossip or complain through an entire coffee break and not get bored. You find what they call normal to be meaningless. You're tired of small talk, passive-aggressive competition, or the lifeless rhythm of the 9-to-5 routine that slowly kills the spirit. And the more you try to fit in, the more it feels like you're betraying yourself. You're what people call the black sheep, the one who doesn't follow family expectations, who doesn't stick to a traditional career, who doesn't live life in this order: school, job, marriage, retirement. You might be the child who never quite settled down, the one criticized as unrealistic just because you're chasing something others don't understand, like spirituality, art, healing, self-development, or simply truth. Your difference makes others uncomfortable, not because you're wrong, but because your light unintentionally reveals the things they're trying to hide. But here's what really matters. From an energetic science perspective, those who are chosen, or in other words, high-frequency souls, always have a closer connection to Source, God/universe. According to research by Dr. David R. Hawkins, only about 0.4% of the world's population vibrates at level 500 or above. The frequencies of love, awakening, and service. Meanwhile, 85% of humanity vibrates below 200. the frequencies of fear, shame, anger, and control. What this means is, if you carry a high vibration, then feeling like you don't belong in this world makes perfect sense. You're vibrating at a frequency the masses haven't reached yet. This is called a frequency mismatch, and it makes you hypersensitive to anything fake, toxic, competitive, or negative. You easily feel drained in crowds, overwhelmed by social media, or simply unable to play a role. You're not wrong for feeling out of place. You feel out of place because you were born to help others wake up and raise their frequency. Look at Lady Gaga. A girl once mocked by her classmates for her style, her music, her way of seeing the world. She was so different she got rejected even on small stages. But instead of changing herself, she stood firm in her truth and turned the very thing people laughed at into a new breath of life for the entire music industry. Lady Gaga once said, "You were born the way you were born. Don't apologize for it." Awakened souls didn't come here to be like everyone else. They came to show the world that there's a deeper, more authentic way to live. If you feel different, don't try to blend in. Understand this: your difference is the reminder that you're on the right path. Feeling different isn't a curse, it's a code to unlock the deepest part of you. However, one thing to know is, those who are chosen to carry light won't always be welcomed. The next sign will show you the dark side of awakening. Sign 3. You are often misunderstood or envied, even when you've done nothing wrong. Have you ever wondered, why am I being disliked even though I didn't do anything? Why am I trying to live kindly yet still being talked about, attacked, or misunderstood? Or even, you walk into a group of strangers, haven't said a single word, and already feel a cold energy surrounding you? If that has ever happened, please, don't be too quick to think you're not good enough. The truth is, it's not because you're mean, it's because you carry light. You are different, in a space that isn't ready to receive it. Jesus once said in John 15:18-19, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. But as it is, you do not belong to the world, and that is why the world hates you." This isn't a complaint, it's a revelation. The path of the chosen one is not the path of ease, applause, or popularity. It's the path of solitude, resistance, and sometimes rejection. Remember Galileo? He didn't go around fighting people. He simply spoke a truth the human eye wasn't ready to see, that the earth revolves around the sun. And for that alone, the church convicted him and placed him under house arrest for the rest of his life. Truth, when the world isn't ready for it, is often labeled as rebellion. And the one who speaks it is often seen as a threat. Elon Musk, a symbol of intellect and innovation, he was once called crazy, weird, a show-off, but today, he's leading humanity closer to life beyond this planet. Those who are ahead of their time are almost always rejected in their time, and so are you. It's not that you're too different, it's that you no longer belong to the old world, a world built on masks, people-pleasing, and false realities. If you've ever been judged for being real, isolated for not following the crowd, or envied simply because you shine without trying, then please, don't let it break you. If you've seen yourself in the first 3 signs, then sign number 4 may surprise you, because it's painfully familiar, just a little bitter. Sign 4. Your life has never been easy. It's been full of challenges from the very start. Some children grow up wrapped in comfort and protection. But then there are others who, even as small children, were forced to learn how to be strong. If you grew up facing hard falls too early, losing too much too soon, or constantly feeling like you had to fight your way through while others didn't, that's not a curse. That's a sign. In the Bible, Romans 5:3-5 says, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope." God never sends hardship to punish, He sends it to shape the chosen. Joseph, one of God's chosen ones, was sold into slavery by his own brothers. Then he was falsely accused, thrown in prison. His life seemed over more than once. But those exact trials led him to Egypt, where he rose to leadership and saved millions from famine. If Joseph hadn't gone through the pain, he never would have stepped into the role his mission required. Have you heard about Oprah Winfrey? As a child, she was sexually abused. She grew up in poverty, faced racism, and was told she was too emotional, too different. But those very wounds turned her into a symbol of healing, a voice for millions of souls who had been broken like her. And if you think purpose is only for prophets or people in holy books, look at Lionel Messi, a small boy diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency. No football club wanted to sign a short, skinny kid who had to inject himself every night just to survive. But Messi pushed through, trained relentlessly, and became one of the greatest footballers in history. He wasn't born for ease, he was born to inspire. From a spiritual science perspective, Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that trauma doesn't destroy the soul, it awakens it. When the brain faces deep suffering, it unlocks a powerful capacity to transform, to rewire itself, to break limits, and to reconnect with the divine within. Challenges are not delays. They're a refining process, shaping you to be strong enough to wear the crown. And when you look back at a past filled with wounds, understand this: you are not a victim of fate. You are a chosen soul, and your pain was a personal training ground made just for you. You didn't survive hardship to boast about how strong you are. You survived it so you could feel it, live it, and lead others through it. The chosen don't run from pain. The chosen look pain in the eye and extract the sacred wisdom it holds, choosing to live awake so they never repeat it again. Hopefully, after this video, you'll begin to love even your struggles and your suffering. And if you've ever asked yourself, what was I truly born to do? Then the next sign will be the most familiar echo in your soul. Sing 5. You often ask deep inner questions about why you exist and what truly makes a life meaningful. Not everyone cares about the meaning of life. Most people simply follow the script. Be born, go to school, work, buy a house, retire, then die. And they're okay with that. But not you. You might have a good job, stable income, and from the outside everything seems fine. But inside, there's an emptiness. Not because you're ungrateful or hard to please, but because deep down you know life can't just be this. There's a kind of emptiness that doesn't come from lacking money, status, or love. It comes from living fully, yet having no idea why you're living. You might be walking the exact path society trained you for. Study hard, get a degree, land a good job, climb the ladder. And still, somewhere deep inside, a familiar question keeps echoing every night. What was I truly born to do? Why was I born? What does my soul actually want? If I just live out the life society programmed for me, who's gonna live for the real me? No one forced you to ask those questions. But you can't not ask, because if you never find the real reason you exist, then even when you have everything, something unnameable still feels missing. I know that feeling well, because I once stood exactly where you are. I used to work in a high-level management position, making great money, leading a team of over 40 people. On the surface, I had it all: a stable job, good income, strong reputation. But inside, I felt hollow. I used to ask myself, if I have to do this job for the rest of my life, even though I feel no passion for it, am I really alive? People looked at me with admiration, but I felt like something inside me was quietly dying. And so, for over 2 years, I started a real conversation, not with logic, but with my soul. I asked myself hundreds of questions. What actually makes me feel alive? What was I born to do beyond making money? If I were gone tomorrow, what would I leave behind in this world? Then I remembered a verse from Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. We are God's masterpiece, created to do the good works which He prepared in advance for us to do. That line gave me chills. I didn't come to this world to do a job I didn't love. I came here to live in alignment with the design my Creator gave to my soul. So I chose to walk away. I left the old path and began a journey of sharing wisdom about the law of attraction, awakening, the universe, and spirituality, first with the people around me, and then with thousands, eventually millions around the world. I began to live for real, not just doing what I love, but living a life with meaning, a life with light. Look at Anthony Bourdain, one of the world's most inspiring chefs and storytellers. He traveled to over 100 countries, tasted the wildest foods, met everyone from US presidents to the poorest villagers in Ethiopia. He lived his passion and still felt something was missing. In an interview, he once said, "The world is big, but my heart feels lost." In the end, what broke him wasn't a lack of money, love, or fame. It was the lack of connection to his own soul. And that's the tragedy. If you don't know who you truly are, then no matter how far you travel, you'll never feel at home. If you're hearing these words, I hope you won't let that happen to you. Listen to the voice inside before it's too late. And know this, you absolutely can live a life you love, a life of value, a life of abundance, a life that is both free and deeply meaningful. All it takes is one brave step, and the universe will step back to make room for you. When you change, your entire world changes, and the world itself will change because of you. Thank you deeply. If by now you recognize yourself in 4 or 5 of these signs, comment the number below so we can total up how many signs of being a chosen one resonate with you. And now we move to the next sign, one of the most quiet yet deeply powerful indicators of a soul that has been chosen. 6. You live with deep responsibility and never blame anyone, no matter how bad things get. When life doesn't go as planned, most people fall into a familiar pattern. They blame someone else. They blame the circumstances. They blame the past, the system, or fate. But you're different. No matter how harsh the situation is, no matter how clearly others were in the wrong, you always come back to one quiet but powerful question. What part of this is mine to take responsibility for? You don't deny the pain, but you also don't use it as an excuse to avoid growth. And that, more than anything, is the clearest line between someone who's truly evolving and someone who's just hoping life will change from the outside. In the Bible, when Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, Adam immediately blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent. That act of avoiding responsibility marked the beginning of separation, suffering, and the loss of connection to God. In contrast, throughout the journeys of those who were chosen, like Joseph, David, or Jesus, they never made excuses. They accepted the mission, they accepted the consequences, and they surrendered everything in order to be transformed. According to Dr. David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness, the level 200 on the scale of energy is the soul threshold. The point where a person shifts from negative states like blame, control, and denial into honesty, self-responsibility, and conscious action. At this level, your energy starts to radiate. You stop saying, "I suffer because of them," and start asking, "How can I become a better version of myself, regardless of what happened?" From there, you naturally rise in frequency, from 200 to 250 neutrality, to 310 willingness, to 350 acceptance, to 400 reason, to 500 love, and eventually 540 plus joy illumination. But if you don't cross the threshold of responsibility, you'll stay stuck in the lower realms, where the dominant emotions are blame, helplessness, and avoidance. Because the chosen ones didn't come here to fix others, they came to transform themselves. They understand, I can't control everything, but I am 100% responsible for how I respond, learn, and grow. When I get better, the world around me begins to change. not because I force anyone else to change, but because the energy I radiate naturally heals and recalibrates those around me. The difference between a chosen one and everyone else is not their environment. It's how they respond to the world. The next sign might surprise you. It may already be present in your life, but you rarely notice it. Strangers open up to you easily, as if you're a safe space for healing. Have you ever just met someone and within minutes they start telling you about their divorce, childhood wounds, depression, or dreams they've never told anyone? You didn't ask. You didn't dig. You were simply present. And they opened up. Why do they choose you? It's not because you're a great speaker. It's not because you always give the best advice. It's because your energy makes them feel safe, unjudged, unguarded, and seen. According to research by the HeartMath Institute in the US, the human heart emits an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain. And when someone lives with full presence and true compassion, they generate a healing field, invisible to the eye, but deeply felt by the nervous systems of others. The parasympathetic nervous system, the one responsible for calm, rest, and regulation in the person across from you, starts to relax, not because of what you say, but because they feel safe in your presence. And so strangers suddenly feel like they can be themselves around you. You are like an invisible charging station, a place where people come to lay down their sorrow. Just by being near you, their heart begins to soften. Because you're not just someone who listens well. You are a soul that radiates healing. Chosen ones don't heal through techniques. They heal through the truth they carry within and through the naturally safe aura they offer to others. You don't have to be a therapist to bring someone peace. Your presence alone, when aligned and grounded, is already a healing energy that gives others peace in that very moment. Stay tuned for the next sign, because if you have it, you're not only a chosen one, you're someone destined for abundance and true prosperity. Scene 8. You help others, even when you're going through hard times yourself. Most people wait until they feel full, strong, or stable before they think about helping others. But the chosen ones are different. They give, even when they're lacking. They help, even when they're hurting. They love, without expecting love in return. It's not because they want to be praised. It's not because they don't have problems of their own. It's because that's simply the nature of their soul. The Bible makes it clear. All the law and the prophets hang on this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22:40. A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Proverbs 11:25. The chosen ones carry within them a natural frequency of compassion, an energy of service, of healing, and of deep empathy. The love within them is unconditional. It doesn't need anyone to love them first. It doesn't wait for the world to be kind in order to act with kindness. Look at Keanu Reeves, a man who lives extremely privately, who has endured profound personal loss, and yet quietly supports the homeless, shares his income with co-workers, helps entire film crews. No drama, no credit, no need to be understood. Because for him, and for so many who are chosen, helping others isn't a duty. It's the soul's energetic breath. You don't have to be perfect to give light, because for the chosen ones, love is their nature. Service is their default frequency. Have you ever given when you had nothing left to hold on to? That's because your soul wasn't programmed to calculate. It was created in fullness, and the more you give, the more abundantly life returns to you, again and again. At this point, you've traveled through more than 3/4 of this journey. There's only one final sign left, and if this last one resonates with you, it confirms that your soul has moved through many levels of evolution. Sign 9, you no longer resonate with loud spaces. You find deep peace in silence. If you've ever felt this way, that being alone doesn't feel lonely, that the more people around you, the more you crave your own space, that you now prefer stillness over small talk, then it's not that you've changed. It's that you're returning to who you truly are. You may have once been someone who thrived in crowds, who felt excited by social events, who always wanted to connect, to be seen. But then something shifted. Not because you're tired, but because deep inside you realized noisy places rarely leave behind anything except noise. Many public figures and spiritually awakened souls have spoken of this shift. Jim Carrey once said, "I don't need anything anymore. I just need stillness." Because that's where I find myself. In the middle of meaningless conversations, you feel out of place. Crowded rooms make you want to withdraw. You begin seeking forests, oceans, candlelight, quiet rooms. Not to escape, but to hear yourself again. You begin to find peace in solitude. You don't need many people. You don't need stimulation. You just need a space quiet enough to feel the true vibration of your soul. Albert Einstein once said, "Silence is where I hear the clearest ideas." He would take long solo walks, not to think, but to listen to the whispers of intuition. Steve Jobs, during the most revolutionary creative periods of his life, would simply go on walks, alone, no one with him, no agenda, just him and open space. They weren't chasing spotlight. They were making space for their inner light to shine. And so are you. You're not depressed. You're not isolated. You're entering a phase where silence becomes your power. You see yourself most clearly when all the noise fades. Because it's only in silence that you can truly tell which voices belong to the crowd and which one belongs to your soul. The chosen ones, after all, aren't the ones who talk the most or do the most. They are the ones who carry clarity within and hold peace in their heart, even in a world that's drowning in chaos. Now is the time. Check what level of awakening you're at. Let's pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and reflect. How many of these signs did you resonate with throughout this video? If you recognized 0 to 2 signs, you're at the first level, a soul that is still deeply asleep. You're living according to what the world expects of you. You might often blame others, feel lost or disconnected without knowing why. You haven't truly listened to your heart, or maybe you never even realized it was something you could listen to. And that's okay, because if you're still watching this, the light within you is already beginning to wake up. Your next step is to start small. Write down how you feel each day. Sit in silence with yourself for 5 minutes every morning. And surround yourself with healing content like this as a way of watering the seed of your soul. If you recognize 3 to 5 signs, you're at the second level. Your soul is starting to hear the call. You've begun asking big questions about life, about yourself. You feel like you don't quite fit in, and that makes you both curious and a little lost. You know there's something deeply real inside you, but you're not sure what it is yet. It's like a small flame burning in the dark, not bright enough to light the way, but impossible to ignore. Your next steps are: write down what stirs your soul, practice meditation so you can learn to hear the voice within, and start practicing gratitude because you are awakening. If you recognized 6 to 7 signs, you've stepped into the third level, a soul that's awakening. You clearly see that you no longer belong to the old values. You've become more sensitive, more intuitive, and more aware of things others try to avoid. You can no longer stand fake connections. You no longer live to please anyone. You're learning to turn pain into power, loneliness into inner fire, and now it's time to begin sharing your light. You don't have to do anything huge. Just live truthfully and let others feel that through you, through your presence alone, you are already becoming an anchor for those around you. If you recognized 8 to 9 signs, Congratulations, you are a chosen one. A soul that has come a very, very long way. You don't have to try to be the light because you are the light. You don't need a stage. You don't need applause because you know when you hold peace within, the outside world will begin to transform. Your direction now is clear. Build your path of service, share your understanding, heal, inspire, and connect with the divine daily. Not to ask for anything, but simply to remember who you truly are. Ask yourself, what level am I at? And am I ready to take one more step? If you are, comment below. I'm at level ____, and I commit to. Let this be the place where your soul marks a turning point, where you stop wandering and start walking your path. If you've made it this far, it's not a coincidence, it's a calling, and you've heard it. You weren't born to blend in, you were born to lead. No one's coming to save you, because you are the one chosen to save yourself and to light the way for those who come after you. If what I've said in this video speaks to your soul, drop a comment below. I am the chosen one. I am ready. And if you know someone who needs to remember who they are, share this video as a gentle wake-up call. Click follow to stay on the journey back to your true soul. I believe in you, and the world is waiting for you to rise.